Hello, I am back to talk about more racing lines, and now I have visual aids. I got gates, I got an arrow to say which direction my quadcopter is going, and we're going to go from there. Today I'm going to go through the U-turn, the corkscrew, and the swizzle, which might also be a flag gate. I don't know, people call them different things, but I call them swizzles. So let's get started. A U-turn is a very simple in concept, but not always easy to do super fast. So you go through this gate, you turn around, you come through that gate. With a car or something that tracks, it makes a lot of sense. You just go through the first one and then turn as hard as you can. Remember with the quad, though, that the direction it's pointing is not the direction it goes. When you turn a quad from here to here, for example, it's still going to keep continuing its previous pathway until you give it throttle. So if we were to go through this first gate and then turn, after going through the gate, we have all the space back here that the quad's just going to fly out and go off the screen and then come back. So that's going to waste a lot of altitude. What we need to do is, as we're going through this first one, we know we're going to make it. So just turn as you're going through the gate and spot the second one so that you never lose it. If we don't turn until we go through this one, you can't see the second gate, right? Your cone of camera is up here. So if we're doing this, we never lose the second gate. And the sooner you turn, the sooner you can throttle in and make the turn to get to the second gate. The other issue with U-turns is that a lot of time people will do this and then they'll fly way up because what they're doing is they're giving throttle, but they haven't nosed in enough. So if you find that you're turning around, you can see the second gate, but you're like way too high up here, what you want to do is just make sure you nose in more so that as you turn around the gate, your throttle is being used to give yourself momentum in the direction you want and not just altitude. So with a corkscrew, it's a very similar situation. A corkscrew is just going through this gate this way and then this gate that way. The entry is just about the same thing. What you want to do with most of these things, as a general statement, you want to go through the first gate of some element already pointing at the second one. So as we come through this way, it's sort of a weird feeling, but just yaw only so that you go through the first gate pointing this way and then try to roll only to get yourself up and over to go through this one. Some people will try to do a zigzag, and there's sort of a line. The farther apart these go, the more it makes sense to zigzag through them. And the closer they get, it makes sense to kind of do this up and over line and then go through the second gate. Sometimes there will be a flag on the second gate that sort of bounds. You're not supposed to go outside of that flag. It's a really hard thing to enforce, so I think they might stop doing it. But it's sort of irrelevant because the fastest line is still going to be turn, go through the first one, corkscrew over just in time to get to the second one, and go out. Obviously, the problem is if you come too far back, you'll line up for the second gate, but you'll be too far behind it, which is fine because then you can just go through. But that's a waste of time. And then if you come too far forward, sometimes the second gate, you'll lose sight of it, and then you can't go through. The idea of this corkscrew thing is that you're sighting the second gate the entire time. So if done right, the second gate never leaves your camera view. And then since you can see it, you can correct and make sure you go through the right way. One thing I forgot to mention about the U-turn or the corkscrew is that some people will set up courses and put them right next to each other like this. Obviously, this does exist. You can force yourself to do that, but that makes the lines so tight that they're not really fun and they're hard to flow. So if you set this up yourself, make both the U-turn and the corkscrew at least a gate's length apart, so maybe here or so. I think the official multi-GP is that you have 10 feet from this post to that post. Since this is about 6 feet, then you have 4 feet from here to here. I hope maybe it's 15, so I'll look that up. But just make sure you don't put them too close together. And if it feels oddly constrained when you're doing the moves, think about moving them back out. All right, so the swizzle, which is one of my favorite things to do. It's real easy to set up because it's just a gate with a flag on it. And the point is that you come through the top, you circle around, and then you go through the gate as it is. Swizzles are fun because you can do them from any direction. I can come from over here, I can come from this direction, and eventually I'm going to go through and come out this way. The key to a swizzle is the same as the other stuff. Turn early, right? So if I'm coming from this direction over here and I want to go through the gate eventually here, you have to start turning way before you get to it. Most people sort of hunt for the flag, and as soon as they make that flag, they think, okay, now I'm going to turn. And by the time you do that, you're way over here again, right? So always be looking at the flag and start turning way earlier than you think you should. Other than that, it takes a lot of throttle to go from full speed to low speed. Generally with these swizzles, you're coming at them with a lot of speed. So same rules as before. Nose in a lot, turn super early, and the one thing we haven't mentioned is try to stay low. Often you're coming at this at full speed, so you can gain a lot of altitude. And if you're trying to swizzle and come down at the same time, it's a more difficult maneuver than if you graze the top of this and then you swizzle around, and you don't have to lose as much altitude as you go through it. The only other thing I'll say about swizzles is because of this turny thing that you're doing, you often don't exit, or I often have problems exiting the way I want. So something I really need to work on personally is spotting the next gate, right? And whether it's over here, over here, over here, try to get through the gate, not just as fast as possible, but pointing the direction I need to be pointing to get to the next move. Often I'll go through a swizzle, I'll make it through, and then I gotta look around and try to figure out where the next gate is, because I can't tell if I'm going through it this way or that way. I just know that I went around and through real quick. So that's something I got to work on. This is specifically pertinent on the most recent UTT. Since none of the gates are at 90 degrees, they're all sort of at 45 degrees to the main grid. You go through a gate and you have to now sight a flag or a slalom or something. And if you're not pointed at it, you got to look around, and that's sort of a waste of time. So to conclude on the swizzle, make sure you turn super early, nose in a ton and give it more throttle than you think, but stay low. And once you get around and do get through that gate, make sure you're pointing where you want to be pointing to get to the next element. All right, I'm already over 5 minutes, so I'm going to stop. Thank you so much for watching. There will be some other elements up next, but if you have any suggestions, let me know. Thanks a lot. Bye.